What's up, gamers? Welcome back to another short pause video here. I'm Ben. You might know me better as Piccolo930. On the other side of the video, the microphone there, it's Mr. Brent Felstein at the Dude 1979 himself. We are trying a little pilot here. We're something we're calling Power Talk. It's our kind of Destiny focused video discussions that we're looking to do more consistently in the near future. We don't yet have a set schedule for when we want to do this. This is kind of just a testing ground for us. If you've been following the channel here, earlier in the week we posted a Destiny discussion about the future of the game, and there's a lot of stuff that's coming down the pipeline. There's a lot of stuff that Bungie's going to be talking about in regards to this game throughout who knows how long. They've been pretty good over the last few months about really diving into this game and really communicating with the fans and really digging deep into what's going on with this game. So it's been a lot of fun to watch and follow and discuss on the podcast, and it's something we discuss every week, Brent. So it just makes sense for us to kind of break off this segment into its own kind of bite-sized chunk, so that way people that are really interested in Destiny, they know where they can come to consume Destiny, and it frees up time on the podcast so we can dive into some of the newer news stories that happen every single week.
Mm-hmm.
It still gives us an outlet to talk about Destiny, which is obviously a game we enjoy playing. It's a game we enjoy covering. It's been a big part of Short Pause, ever since our beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been chronicling the kind of the story of Destiny for the last 4 years. It's been a good bit of fun, and I'm looking forward to this new venture, man, and just being able to kind of really hone in and focus our Destiny discussions. I think it's going to be fun. What do you think?
I like it, man. Like you mentioned, we're a podcast, a website that sort of was born from Destiny. We kind of spawned from Destiny, with Frankie and Bender and all of us playing Destiny together for so long, and it really became kind of like the game of our site. That's what we always played. I mean, we play other games, we cover other games, we talk about other games, but Destiny is just kind of like our bread and butter, the one that we love to just go back to and spend just tons of time with. And Destiny 2 is kind of in a strange place right now. It had a fabulous start in terms of its reviews and its critical praise, and then once people started getting to the end game, then the community kind of voiced their displeasure with where this game was headed. And over the last couple of months, Bungie has at times stumbled, but has made progress in other areas, and the game is getting more and more to what the hardcore community would expect from it. So, I mean, we love Destiny 2. We understand that it's faults. We acknowledge its faults. We know it's not a perfect game. Bungie's doing their best to get it to where we want it to be. But at the end of the day, you and I still enjoy playing this game. We enjoy spending our Wednesday nights knocking out the milestones, playing in the Crucible, carrying out heroic strike missions, doing the Nightfall, all that jazz. I mean, we really do love Destiny, despite all our imperfections. And it just makes sense that we have a show where we talk about Destiny 2.
Yeah, for sure. At the end of the day, man, like you said, in irregardless of whatever else is going on with the game, it's still a damn fun game to play. It's still pretty much the best console shooter out there in my humble opinion. So, there's always that we can fall back on. At least the gameplay is good.
Yes, sir.
So we did a video earlier in the week because there was a lot of stuff that came out of Bungie recently over the last couple of weeks in terms of what they're planning to do with Destiny, some of the community discussions, and so on and so forth. So we did a lengthy discussion about where the game was at, where the game was going, what we think is going to happen, and just kind of reacting to what Bungie's been saying the past few weeks. And then lo and behold, a couple of days later, here we are, and Bungie has a new roadmap that they've posted, which they said they were going to do. So Deej was a man of his word, and he posted a new Destiny 2 development roadmap that is going to take us up through September or to the start of Season 4.
Mm-hmm.
So after seeing this roadmap, Brent, we were like, boy, we got some more stuff to discuss. We need to get back on the video here, and we got some more talking to do. So, hot off the presses here, the Destiny 2 development roadmap. This is from game director Christopher Barrett. Quote, "The team is very excited to extend the roadmap and share with you some of the big stakes we're putting in the ground. Recent updates have focused on immediate issues to the live game, but in the coming months, our vision for the future is converging with critical player feedback to deliver transformative changes to Destiny 2. We'll be diving deeper into each one of the items listed soon, and there's even more we can't wait to talk about yet. But for now, It's all hands on deck to make sure we deliver on our promise to restore Destiny to the hobby we all love. And I like this word hobby, Brent. It's been a buzzword around Bungie for the last few weeks now. A lot of talk about returning this game to a hobby style game, something that you can play every single night, where you always have something to do, and it's always like when you pick up that controller, you can sit down and have a roadmap of something that you want to do.
Right.
So, here's the new roadmap. So season 2, we know that the last update of season 2 has been deployed. It was the Go Fast update. We discussed that. If you have not, make sure you go watch our last video. It's called The Evolution of Destiny 2. It's on our YouTube page right here. So make sure you go check that out. See our thoughts on the Go Fast update and kind of the future of Destiny. But now Bungie has outlined a little bit of what we can expect from season 3 and even season 4 which is coming in September. So season 3, Brent. First and foremost, we now know the name of the DLC, and of course, with a new season comes new DLC. That's how Bungie has decided to kind of delineate these seasons. So season 3 starts with the release of the Warmind DLC. That's what they're calling it. So DLC 2, amidst all of the rumors of names and whatnot, is called Warmind. It's coming on May 8th, and these are the items that will be officially a part of this update, the 1.2.0 update. Seasonal Crucible rankings, we've talked about. Excited about that. Private matches will be available. Vault space increase. The multi-emote wheel. Exotic weapon masterworks.
Oh boy.
That's a big one. Seasonal vendor progression. Very, very curious to see what that's all about. Exotic weapon sandbox changes. Undoubtedly the biggest part of this update. Heroic strike modifiers. And Nightfall challenge cards, which is something we've talked about, still on this list here. Obviously, Nightfall challenge cards are in the game right now. Bungie's published this roadmap in several different blog posts and posted on their Twitter feed, and they have not changed Nightfall challenge cards from this season update. So I have to assume that they're doing something to the challenge cards, maybe adding additional modifiers. That was something they talked about when they introduced these challenge cards, that the modifiers that were in there were just the beginning of some of the things they were thinking of. So that's what my money's on. Maybe adding some different modifiers in there, maybe giving you access to a different card that you can obtain to change the modifiers up. Not sure exactly what they have planned for that, but excited nonetheless. So just before we talk about the Warmind DLC itself, Brent, what's your thoughts on this list of what's coming to season 3, or what's got you excited?
Obviously, it's the exotic weapon changes, like the masterwork exotic weapons, but then the sandbox changes, where we're talking about how the exotic weapons will feel more exotic, they'll do more damage, they'll have more impact on the battlefield. So obviously, those are the things that stand out to me, because now you have a reason to really run with a specific exotic weapon, and it's going to do more damage, and it's going to be more useful not only in PvP or PvE, but also in PvP in the Crucible. I mean, this is going to change a lot of things in all aspects of the game, and I think that's easily the thing I'm most excited about are the exotic masterworks and the sandbox changes.
That's the thing, dude. When season 3 hits on May 8th, exotic weapons in Destiny 2 are going to fundamentally change. We've already seen a taste of what they're planning with some of these guns. Like the Graviton Lance is going to be a brand new weapon for all intents and purposes when the Warmind DLC drops on May 8th. Sturm and Drang, a completely different weapon combination when the DLC drops on May 8th. And those are the only two we've seen so far. So we can only imagine what they're going to do with some of these other guns and how they're going to bring some of these other exotics up to where they need to be. They've talked a lot about really making the exotics feel exotic, feel like they're just an ultra powerful gun that you want to get your hands on, that you want to use. So, and seeing what their plans are for the Graviton Lance and for Sturm and Drang has been very, very encouraging. So I absolutely cannot wait to see what they do with the rest of these guns, man. I'm super excited about that. And then, Masterworks have been an incredible addition to Destiny 2. They've really changed the way that you play, especially in PvE. Being able to generate orbs that not only your teammates can pick up, but you can pick up, is this does a lot for strategy and making you feel powerful as you continue to get your super over and over and over again. So to be able to have that feature on an exotic gun, that's That's really one of the things that's been driving me away from exotics in Destiny 2 right now. Is like you can't masterwork those. So
Right.
I'm like, man, when I shoot, like I want to have a masterwork gun out. So to be
Mm-hmm.
able to have that feature on exotics as well, basically, it's just gonna the exotic system going to look completely different
Mm-hmm.
when season 3 rolls around. And on that note, on May 8th, with the beginning of season 3, we're also launching the second expansion to Destiny 2. This is back to the Bungie post here. It's called Warmind, and it will send you to new places to meet new heroes and battle new enemies. You'll earn new loot and master new activities. Today we're naming it and dating it. You'll learn more in a reveal stream on April 24th. Mark your calendars and follow us on Twitch. So I know where I'll be on April 24th. I know where you'll be as well.
Yes, sir.
We'll be watching that stream, hopefully getting excited about what the Warmind DLC has to offer. And we know that May 8th is the date, Brent. So this is kind of what we predicted. We predicted early in May the DLC would drop, as is typically the case for the Destiny DLC. So we got that early date. We knew that the reveal stream, had to be soon. It's coming in less than 2 weeks now from when we're recording this. So I'm getting excited, man, to see what this is all about. Let me ask you about this, though. So the things that it says here: new places, new heroes, new enemies, new loot, new activities. Now, could we get the fabled new enemy race here with this DLC? Could we get the rumored frames and constructs that have long been linked to the Warminds, to Rasputin, that Saladin has alluded to in the past? You know, are we going to meet Anna Bray? Unquestionably, we're going to meet Anna Bray. She's clearly in the promotional images for the game.
Yep.
So Anna Bray is going to be involved in this, so we know we're meeting her. We know where we're going in terms of Mars, and we'll talk about that a little more in a second. And then there's this thing about new activities. Like, could we see a new PvE activity, like something like the Prison of Elders being added into the game? What do you think when you read all this? Am I reading too much into this, or is all this stuff a possibility?
No, I mean, when you hear about new heroes, Anna Bray is obviously one of the new heroes we could come across. Then, we talk about the new loot. Obviously, when you get any new expansion, there's new exotic weapons and armor, so there's going to be something in that regard. So the new loot falls in line with that. But like the new places, obviously Mars. But yeah, new activities, that makes you wonder, are we talking just new public events? Are we talking just minimal stuff? Or are we talking a big expansion or a big addition, like a big mode to play through, like you mentioned, Prison of Elders, or something like the Court of Oryx, something that's big, that's going to involve a lot of people, that's going to add to the grind, that's going to be difficult, challenging, and ultimately pay out these awesome rewards that they're talking about in terms of the loot. But then the enemies, like you said, new enemies. I mean, what could this be? Could it be frames and constructs? Or could it be something related to Siva? I mean, we have no idea. There could be a lot of ways they could go with this, but I love the idea of new enemies, a new enemy race to challenge us, to bring the heat. So I'm definitely on board for all this stuff. Sounds great, and this is the kind. Bungie needs a big hit with this. I understand the fall update is the big one, but Destiny needs something, or Bungie needs a really big hit with this next expansion. Considering how much Crucible has underwhelmed a lot of people, they need a big hit with Warmind, dude.
Yeah, if you'll remember back to Destiny 1, Brent, the Dark Below came out. It was received very similarly to the way Curse of Osiris was, right? It was, people thought it was too short. There was not enough content in it. Even though it gave us another raid, that was awesome. Crota's End has obviously been a fun raid to play over the years. So it gave us that. But outside of that, there's a lot of disappointment in the Dark Below. And then the House of Wolves came out. And the House of Wolves was a pretty exciting update. We played a lot of House of Wolves. So whether it was the storyline, which was a lot better than the Dark Below, I actually really enjoyed the Skolas story in House of Wolves. Of course, it introduced the Prison of Elders, which is something we definitely got our money's worth out of. We played a lot of Prison over the years. And then, obviously they had other stuff in there as well, new loot and all that kind of stuff. But House of Wolves really was kind of the turning point for Destiny 1. It really kind of set the game in the direction that it eventually got to with the Taken King. So that was a huge update for that game. So Warmind could have a similar effect on Destiny 2 if any of this stuff comes into play. So they gave us a promotional image for this Warmind DLC. So it's a Warmind looking structure, like something we've seen in Rise of Iron, or over the years we've kind of been in a few of these Warmind bunkers. So we have this kind of centralized image of this, it's like a two pyramids stacked on top of each other. I guess it's a cube-like structure that houses what we believe is a Warmind. And then there's some arrays around it. And then in this promotional image, and shout out to Rick Kakis for making a video on this and pointing some of the stuff out. But if you look closely, we can tell a few things from this image. So interestingly enough, too, the promotional image they have on the site is like the regular like 1080p image or whatever. But they also have a 4K image which you can use for wallpaper as well. When you click on that 4K image, it reveals some more real estate that's not in the image that's on the promotional page. So when you click on the 4K image and you blow this picture up and you get more of the screen, some more things start to come into focus. So first and foremost, we see the icy, planetoid or the icy landscape that we saw in the promotional art. And then if you look on the far right side, you kind of see the red dusty mountains, kind of similar to Mars. So right there, that's your first clue that this is the Mars ice caps as have been rumored. And when you blow up into the 4K image, there's this planetoid or this asteroid out in the distance. And what Rick did in his video was he went back and he actually found that planetoid in Destiny 1. And you can actually see it from Phobos, which is the moon of Mars.
Right.
You can see that floating around. So you know that because of that planetoid, and if you look closely in the distance, you can almost faintly pick out the outline of Phobos as well, as we saw it in Destiny 1. So this is pretty much 100% guaranteed. And you can even see Earth in the far distance if you look really closely. So this is 100% guaranteed to be the ice caps of Mars. So we know we're on Mars with this DLC now. And then also on this 4K image, so Brent, there's that interesting like red, I don't know, it's like a red, how would you describe that? Energy lines or something like coming out of the Warmind.
Yeah.
I saw some people talking maybe it was like the brain of the Warmind or something like that. When you blow up the 4K image though, and you go out a little bit further, there's a construct or like a framing around that kind of cluster of energy there. And you see these red tubes kind of swirling in and out. And it looks very much Siva-like in that respect, even more so than what we get. This red stuff in the middle kind of reminds me of Siva as well. There's been a lot of talk about Siva, a lot of hints towards Siva. So this is some of the stuff that could be available in this DLC, I think, Brent. I think it's pretty safe to say that we're on Mars. Obviously, we're dealing with Rasputin and the Warminds. And I think there's a very high chance that Siva is involved in this, and we'll see our kind of first appearance of Siva in Destiny 2. What do you think about that?
I think you're onto something, dude. I think you're onto something. I mean, it's awesome how they have just this promotion thing, and we're able to glean that much information out of it, or at least gives us enough to speculate about what we're going to include here. But, I mean, if there's Siva, then I can't help but wonder if there's going to be Siva enemies or Siva enemy types or enemy types that's been infused with Siva.
Yeah.
So that could be very well what we're dealing with here.
Yeah. And when they mention the frames and constructs, it's basically kind of like the bots that we've seen in Destiny 2, so like the exos or like the sweeper bots, those kind of things. It's that kind of idea, like maybe those frames like possessed with Siva or something like that could be a cool enemy for sure. So really curious to see what they come up with for that. And once again, shout out to Rick Kakis for pointing some of that stuff out. Go follow the man if you don't. Watch his Destiny videos. He's a good dude. All right, so that's what's coming with Season 3 on May 8th. Now, they also outlined some of the things they're looking at for the rest of Season 3 throughout the summer. So a new seasonal event. So it's a new one. I think not one they've done before. I don't think they've ever done a summer event before, have they, in Destiny?
Not that I recall.
Yeah. Faction rallies improvements. I think were originally scheduled for earlier in the season, but now they're slated for the summer. Really curious to see what they do with faction rallies. Bounties. Coming back to Destiny 2. I imagine they'll be somewhat different from they were in Destiny 1. PC clan chat coming in then. This is the interesting thing, Brent. So exotic armor sandbox changes have been newly added to the roadmap, and they're now separated from the exotic weapon changes. So originally we were thinking they were going to do all of the exotics at once, but now the weapons and the armor are separated. So I would imagine that they're going to take a pretty significant pass at the exotic armor as well and really buff those up. So I want to get your thoughts on what's up for the rest of the summer. Specifically, though, what do you think they're going to do with bounties, and what do you want to see them do with exotic armor?
Well, I mean, bounties. That's bounties again. That was a way to get tokens or whatnot, and that gets you out grinding to buy gear that you need from like whatever vendor you're working for. So I think that's awesome. I mean, again, we're just looking for stuff to do, and bounties is stuff to do. Whether it's completing heroic strikes, going out and doing a nightfall, or killing a certain enemy type. If you have that kind of stuff in your inventory, you know those are things you have to do. That just naturally creates grind. So I'm totally cool with bounties. I don't know how they're going to implement it. Like you said, they're probably going to be different than what they were in Destiny 1. I would hope so. Maybe add some flair to them. So bounties will be cool. And then in terms of like exotic armor changes, sandbox changes, I'm not really sure what they would do. Because I mean, I feel like a lot of my armor, the Orpheus rigs, do pretty good on their own right now in their current state. But maybe more damage resistant, maybe a little bit more mobility for certain, for leg armor or whatnot. Maybe there's something specific to your to the piece of armor that you're equipping. Maybe there's some kind of like an extra bonus related to that. I mean, that's something they could consider. Maybe it's just as simple as you can take more damage with it. Who knows?
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking for. If you remember the armor sets in Destiny 1, Brent, there was a lot that went into these armor pieces. There were either was burns, void burns,
yes,
arc burns. So you could avoid that kind of stuff. There were pieces of armor that recharged your melee, recharged your grenades, reloaded your weapons, gave you more ammo, like so on and so forth. There was a bunch of different perks associated with armor that just aren't here in Destiny 2. The armor system has been simplified significantly. So I'm thinking maybe as a trial or maybe as a preview for what they can do with all armor in the future, maybe adding this into the legendaries as well. But I'd like to see some more nodes and some more options in terms of your exotic armor. So the actual perks themselves that you get with the exotic armor is pretty sweet. You mentioned the Orpheus rigs. Been an incredible piece of exotic armor that the entire community is going gaga over. so to see those kind of things are really cool. But yeah, now I want to see the nodes where you can choose between your melee and your grenades. I want to see the stuff that reduces void burn or reduces void damage, incoming void damage, stuff like that. You want to see them start to implement that stuff back into the exotic armor as well. So yeah, we'll see what they do with that. But just the fact that they've separated the armor and the weapons seems like they're going to put some significant effort into what they do with the armor now. They wanted to separate it so they could spend more time on it. So, so that's all we know for Season 3 right now. We just have a kind of a vague summer outline for that. So we don't know what else they're going to add in here. Obviously, they'll be. It seems like the plan is to update the roadmap once a month, so we can count on that. The biggest news though, Brent, is probably what they've confirmed they're working on for Season 4. So Season 4 currently slated for September, and we've mentioned this several times, not only on the podcast, but in the video we just did. And every time we've talked about Destiny, Brent, we've talked about getting to this September update, to the big September update, the big 1 year celebration of Destiny 2. We knew when we started playing the game that the game would be significantly different once we got to a year into its run, and that's going to bear fruit here. And what we talked about was this update being the big update that fundamentally changed Destiny 2, very similar to the way that the Taken King fundamentally changed Destiny 1. So with Season 4 and the September update, we don't know anything about the DLC, how big it's going to be, what they have planned for it yet, but here are some of the things that are on the docket for the beginning of Season 4. Gear collections, which I can only assume is some type of a kiosk in the tower where you'll be able to visit your gear collections, maybe free up some space in your vault. Records, once again, which I can only assume is record books. And if you remember, Brent, in Destiny 1, we spent a lot of time doing record books. In fact, some of my favorite memories of Destiny 1 are based around completing some of these records books. The moments of triumph, year 1, year 2, for instance, were all based around these record books. So I'm really jazzed if they're bringing those back, because I love those things. And then we get the big ones here. Weapon slot changes, confirmed for September of Season 4. So they're coming. We know they're coming now. We know when they're coming. And we officially have confirmation that weapon randomization is on the docket for September for Season 4. So, random rolls and possibly the return of the original Destiny primary, secondary, heavy. So, possibly the return of that, possibly some other variation of that. So this is big news. Obviously, they've been hinting at it. They've been talking about it. We've been talking about it. But now they've officially put it on paper, so to speak, that this stuff is in the pipeline. It's planned for September of Season 4. And there's more yet to be revealed, obviously. They put that on there. There's a lot more to be revealed for what's coming with Season 4 and with the big update. Your thoughts on this, Brent?
Well, it's like we talked about in the last video. It's everything that we were kind of expecting would happen, and there's obviously going to be a massive expansion that comes out this fall, and along with it, this game is going to change fundamentally in terms of like your weapon loadouts, the weapon slots. We're going to have random rolls. We're going to have different ability or different perks on legendary weapons. I mean, this is basically a lot of the stuff the community was asking for, and apparently Bungie is listened because it is on the docket, and they are actively working on this. It's not something they're trying to figure out if they can get it for fall. They are actively working on this right now.
Yeah, actively working on it in so much that they have locked in a date for it. Like, they know when they want to deliver this to the fans. They have put this on the roadmap, so they believe that they will have this ready for the beginning of Season 4. And really, that just makes sense, man. Like we've been talking about, this fall update, the Taken Queen, as it's known in the Destiny community, like, this will be the big, like, fundamentally altering Destiny 2 update come this September. So everything that we're playing up to that point is laying the groundwork for what we're going to see in September. So this is what Bungie had to say about this. The community has been talking a lot about some of the things we're developing for Season 4. Our goals for these features are to give you more control over how you configure your loadouts in Destiny 2 and give you more reasons to play the game over time. We also want to bring back those exciting moments when you acquire the perfect weapon. So that's great to hear. That's exactly what we're all looking for. To make this happen, updates like weapon randomization, weapon slot changes, gear collections, and records will be delivered to all players. We now have a plan for raid prestige changes, including raid layers, and will update where it will land in the next development roadmap. Mod changes are now being incorporated into our new plan for weapon randomization. So that's a couple other things the community's been wondering about. Raid prestige changes and the mod changes. Those are now, just so you know where they're at on that. Also, something to note here, Brent, Season 3, they're also going to change the way that they deliver Crucible content. So now every player of Destiny 2, for every player of Destiny 2, will be releasing all the new Crucible maps being developed for Warmind into matchmaking. The same goes for maps we released for Curse of Osiris. To keep the community in the Crucible unified, everyone will see new arenas and match-made playlists like Quick Play, Competitive, Trials of the Nine, Iron Banner, as well as the new weekly rotators that include Rumble and Mayhem. That means more opponents for everyone. With the arrival of private matches, players will need to purchase each expansion to have exclusive access to those Crucible maps with other players in a private match. This plan goes into effect on May 8th with the beginning of Season 3. So essentially, all the maps will now be free for Destiny 2, which is awesome. That's going to keep the Crucible community together. And if you want to use them in a private match, you got to, of course, own the DLC. I think that's a totally fair trade. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, excited to see that change and how they're going to continue to update the Crucible there. So there's some other stuff in the Bungie update this week, which I recommend you guys check out. Specifically, they're doing a few things with the Bungie Foundation. So they have some different like charitable drives that they're doing right now. So definitely go on over to Bungie.net, see what they got going on there, and if you have the ability, definitely donate to some of these causes. They're good causes. We also know that Iron Banner will be starting this Tuesday, Brent, so it's official.
Yes.
The first 6v6 Iron Banner with the altered control rules. Basically, it's the original Destiny control with the original 6v6. Really, really excited to get into Iron Banner and see what that's all about. We got to grind out those the last of the Season 2 ornaments, man.
Yes, sir.
Gotta make it happen. And then there's some interesting stuff in here, too, about changing power levels to make things, make PvE activities more difficult, specifically like it was in Destiny 1 where, there was different, modifiers in terms of the levels between you and your enemies. And, they talked about really making the energy type match the shield and how that was going to affect the gameplay. So right now in Destiny 2, if you use a void weapon on a void shield, it does it causes an explosion, and that's cool and all. But if I use a solar or an arc gun on that same shield, it does the same amount of damage. So now they're changing that where you actually have to have the right type of element on the shield, and then you get like a 3 times boost. If you're using a different element, you get a 2 times boost. If you're using a regular kinetic gun, you get no boost. And of course, the explosion will still be there. I love that explosion.
I love the explosion.
I'd never get tired of activating that. So yeah, there's some cool stuff about the power level changes as well. You can check that out on Bungie.net as well. But that's gonna do it for this update here, Brent. So quick update on the roadmap. We'll try and get back out here as often as we can to talk about Destiny 2 and what's coming down the pipe. Like I said, we're gonna have a lot to talk about over the next few weeks and months. So I would imagine that we'll be on here pretty often, talking about Destiny 2, because we're gonna have a lot to discuss. So for Brent, I'm Ben. Thanks for watching this video. We'll talk to you guys next time.
See ya.
Another day, another night.
Another demoralizing defeat for the Hive.